appear Cleveland, and I think this is a good fit, is going to take Shedeur Sanders. So Cam Ward's going to go number 1, Shedeur Sanders, Cleveland's going to go number 2. The Giants got wind of it, and they signed Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, and they're probably in the Travis Hunter, who's the best pure athlete in the draft ballpark. And I was thinking about this morning. The Giants have really become the Cleveland Browns, where I'm dead serious, where I like the offensive head coach. Stefanski won 11 games, rotated 4 quarterbacks, and got to the playoffs. That's all I've ever needed to see. He's a good coach. Brian Daboll won a playoff game with Daniel Jones. That's all I need to know. The rest of the organizations are trouble. I like the coach. They've got some good defensive players, and they are a sideshow at quarterback. The difference is this morning, Cleveland's going to get Shedeur Sanders. The Giants are stuck with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So Cleveland is now a better version of the Giants. The last time Cleveland was legitimate and stable at quarterback was Bernie Kosar, mid-'80s, won 5 straight. We got 5 straight playoff appearances. Total stability. Never been stable since. The last time the Giants were stable, Eli Manning wins 2 Super Bowls in a 5-year period. It's been a mess. And if you look at Cleveland, it's been impulsive reactions from the owner. And if you look at the Giants, they've had patience. They're not Cleveland. They've had patience. They've just made horrible decisions. Joe Judge, Dave Gettleman, Daniel Jones, then the extension, letting Saquon go. So there's a lot of different ways to get bad. Cleveland, it's mostly been an ownership thing. The Giants owner has not helped. It's been a bad GM thing. Joe Shane, Dave Gettleman, just to me are they're not elite guys. And so, but the difference is this morning is Cleveland's going to get a quarterback who's a pocket guy, Shedeur Sanders, who I like more than the critics. Remember about a month ago when some of these mock draft guys were saying, hey, Shedeur may fall to the 2nd round. J-Mac first, me following up, said, you're out of your mind. These guys are nice quarterback prospects. Far less talented quarterbacks have gone in the top 5 than Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. Cam Ward's going 1. What this says today, signing Russell Wilson, is the Browns are taking Shedeur Sanders, and Stefanski's a very good pocket quarterback. Very good with Flacco, very good with Baker. That's what he does. Guys that sit in the pocket and throw. Yeah, that's why Deshaun Watson's been iffy. Deshaun doesn't throw great from the pocket. He moves a lot, and he's not the athlete he once was. So you think listen, the Giants have the worst record in the league since 2017. So when I say they're the Cleveland Browns, they're worse. And they have the fewest touchdown passes in the NFL since Eli Manning retired.
Yeah. Coming into this clip, because obviously I had already known that Russ was signed, I was like, what are they doing? This is so absurd. They got Jameis Winston, they got Russell Wilson, and then they're talking about that they're going to want to maybe draft Shedeur Sanders and this or that. And I'm actually kind of happy that I let this bake for a second, because I actually don't think it's terrible. I actually think, because I believe in Brian Daboll as an offensive mind. I think it's always tough to really evaluate a coach, especially when you don't have the quarterback. But I know what he can do offensively, and since this team has been such a mess, it's hard to know how well he runs a team as a head coach, as like the leader of the team itself. It's just the team itself has been such a mess, and I just don't know if we can put that all on him. There's a lot to deal with, a lot of nonsense that he has to deal with. So I think it's a little bit hard. But the thing is, and this is what I said before, it's just though it's like, what's the plan? Because if we're talking about the immediate short term of this team, I think Russ and Daboll could actually be pretty decent together. I really do. I think you'll be able to win some games. But it's also obviously not the future either. Like, Jameis Winston's not the future, and Russell Wilson's not the future. And that's what I kind of said when they first got Jameis Winston. I was like, well, what is the plan here? Because he's going to be good enough where you're going to win some games and hurt your draft order. And he's obviously not your future. And it's like, well, you're going to sign him and then draft Shedeur Sanders and then use Jameis Winston as a mentor. And I was like, no, that's silly to me as well. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Because at that point, I just don't think Jameis Winston, I just doesn't make sense to me. And again, at that point, you're also probably just going to be better off to just have another losing season, unfortunately. And now you're going to get Russ, and I think you're going to be able to win some games. Obviously not be like a playoff contender in terms of like, nobody wants to face the Giants round one. Like, I don't think you're going to necessarily be that either. Maybe won't be an easy out per se, but not someone that people are like, oh God, we got to face the Giants and Russ. I don't think you're going to have that either, and you're not going to be a Super Bowl contender. So then it's just like, so then what are you going to do? And then who's going to be your quarterback in the following? You're gonna have Russ in the following year too, or Jameis Winston is gonna finally be a great elite top starting quarterback. And the whole idea is that the quarterback draft is deeper next season, so you can make the argument that you don't maybe need to draft top 5 or something. But like, I don't know, it just seems like you're then kind of just caught in two worlds at this point. And you're allocating a chunk of change to Russell Wilson too. And it just feels like at this point, if we want to say that the NFL draft for quarterbacks is going to be better the following year, well then you can now get the draft high, draft who you want, Travis Hunter, whoever, whatever you want. Think about the quarterback that you're going to potentially be looking for in next year's draft, and kind of just try to plan and build for that. Even if it is now Jameis Winston because you want him to be a mentor or something, or you want to, because again, I don't know what quarterback you're looking at. Maybe you're looking at a 21-year-old quarterback. Maybe you're looking at a 24-year-old quarterback, and you want him to start from day one. Again, like that's the one thing that's like I don't know, and only the Giants will know. You punt this season again. It's a bummer, but you're gonna lose, and you can have Jameis Winston if you want. But I would still then argue that you would be better off just kind of like, I don't know, honestly, just kind of continuing to lose. You'll draft high again the following year. You'll now have back-to-back drafts with high pick, back-to-back drafts with high picks. These a young core. And again, depending on who you want in the draft, maybe it's a 23-year-old, maybe it's a quarterback that already has a lot of, starts under his belt, has a lot of maturity, someone who you can now bring into this situation. Or if it is still a work in progress, like, the quarterback that you really want is like a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, and you still want him to sit another year. Again, that's when you then bring in a Russell Wilson or of some sort. Or whoever else would potentially be available in that moment of time. But it just feels like you're kind of all over the place here at this point. And it just doesn't seem like they really deeply understand what's better right now, short term or long term. And because again, if you bring in a quarterback as good as Russell Wilson, he's obviously good enough to still win. I mean, look what he did with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was able to get that team into the playoffs. And I know it didn't end well for them, but I believe Brian Daboll's a better offensive mind than what they got going on in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they'll have better weapons. And again, there's going to be some arguments for other pieces around O-line, run game, whatever, defense, etc., etc. So I get all of that, and you're going to be in a tough division for sure. Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys will be better. But I just think, Russell is a legitimate seasoned veteran, and although he's not going to be the quarterback who's going to like get you over the hump at this point, he's going to get you probably over the hump of being a trash team, of being a team where you're just like, why am I even watching them play? And I do think now, again, if their defense can compete, and depending on how much they hit in the draft, if you have Russ as your quarterback and Brian Daboll as your coach, yeah, I do think you can, get those random wins against the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Commanders. Again, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying like it's going to be, something that you can like kind of guarantee. But then that just changes. That starts to change everything. And it's just, I don't know. You're just caught in between two worlds of short term, long term. And Russ is a short term that then hurts your long term. And so I'm just not entirely sure then what the vision is. And it's like I'm not even necessarily saying like, oh, just tank or this or that. I'm not even necessarily saying that either. It's just you have to figure out your long-term quarterback plan. Like, that's what you need to figure out. So it's not even a matter of tanking or this or that. It's just like, you got to figure out what is your long-term quarterback situation. And they're just not doing that. And if they then want to draft a quarterback either this season or next season, then the decisions that they're making right now fundamentally just don't make sense to me. And in fact are hurting that ability to then go do that. That's what I'm trying to get at. So that's why I keep saying kind of short-term, long-term. That's why it's just like, it's kind of hard to wrestle with. But if we're looking at it in a vacuum and just looking at it this season right now, nothing else, well then yeah, then I think Russ, is kind of decent in that regard. But, short-term, long-term. Short-term, long-term. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Russell Wilson going to the Giants on a 1-year deal? What do you think the Giants are trying to do here? What do you think their plan is? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.